Ever wonder what happens when Keanu Reeves crosses paths with a struggling single mom? Sarah Johnson, a woman weighed down by life's challenges, stands outside a Chicago grocery store, unable to afford food for her little girl, Emily. She hides her tears, but Keanu notices. Quietly, he pays for her groceries and leaves them at her feet, sparking surprise and a glimmer of hope. Who is this mysterious stranger? Why does he care? As Sarah works to rebuild her life with his support, a job, a future, secrets begin to unfold. Keanu's kindness stems from a deep personal place, pushing him to help others. But this isn't just about groceries. It's about healing, confronting life's unfairness, and a connection that transforms them both. Stay tuned. Keanu's next move will surprise you. Keanu Reeves didn't plan to change anyone's life that day. He was just walking through a rough Chicago neighborhood, hands in his pockets, head down after a long stretch of volunteering. The streets buzzed with people rushing home for Easter, but he barely noticed. Then he saw her, Sarah Johnson, standing outside a cramped grocery store, clutching a torn bag like it was her last lifeline. Her face was tight, eyes dull with exhaustion. She just asked the shopkeeper for credit and got a hard no. Keanu stopped. Something about her quiet struggle hit him square in the chest. Sarah wasn't thinking about strangers. Her mind was on Emily, her 5-year-old waiting at home, probably asking for dinner with that big, hopeful smile. She couldn't face telling her there'd be nothing tonight. Not again. She turned away from the store, swallowing the lump in her throat, forcing herself to keep it together. Keanu watched from a distance, his dark coat blending into the crowd. He didn't move closer. Not yet. He just observed, taking in the way her shoulders slumped, the way she wiped her face, quick, like she could hide the pain. He knew that look. He'd seen it before, on people he couldn't save, on faces that still haunted him. Keanu wasn't one for big gestures or loud promises. He lived quiet, kept his scars private, but standing there, watching Sarah walk off with empty hands, something shifted. He couldn't explain it, didn't try to. He just knew he couldn't let it end like that. Sarah didn't notice him trailing her. She headed to a park a few blocks away where Emily waited on a bench, kicking her legs, eyes lighting up when she saw her mom. "Did you get something, Mama?" Emily's voice was pure, unbroken by the world's weight. Sarah knelt, brushing a hand through her daughter's hair. "Not today, sweetie, but we'll be okay." Her voice cracked, but she forced a smile. Keanu stood back, half hidden by a tree, watching the exchange. His chest tightened. That lie, the one Sarah told to protect her kid, he'd heard it before, in his own life from someone he'd lost. He didn't wait for permission to act. Keanu turned on his heel and headed back to the store. The shopkeeper, Tom, was locking up, grumbling about deadbeats. Keanu stepped up, voice low but steady. "That woman who was here earlier? I'll cover what she needed." Tom squinted, skeptical, but didn't argue when Keanu pulled out cash. Bread, milk, some canned stuff, bare basics, nothing fancy. Tom handed him a receipt, and Keanu grabbed the bags without a word. Back at the park, Sarah was still with Emily, holding her close, whispering something Keanu couldn't hear. He approached, slow and deliberate, setting the bags down in front of her. "These are for you," he said, simple as that. Sarah's head snapped up, eyes wide. "What? I can't take this." Her voice shook, pride warring with desperation. Keanu shook his head. "Please, for her." He nodded toward Emily, who peeked out, staring at the bags like they were a miracle. Sarah's hands trembled as she gripped the bench. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know us." Keanu met her gaze, his expression soft but unreadable. "Because no one should go hungry on a day like this. That's all." Before she could push back, he gave a small nod and walked off, blending into the crowd. Sarah stared after him, heart pounding, the weight of his kindness sinking in. Who was he? Why her? She didn't have answers, but as Emily tugged at the bags, giggling, Sarah felt something she hadn't in years. Hope. Keanu kept moving, hands back in his pockets, already wondering what he'd just started. For him, it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Keanu Reeves didn't overthink it. He'd seen Sarah walk away empty-handed, heard the crack in her voice as she lied to Emily, and that was enough. He doubled back to the grocery store, steps quick but silent, like he was chasing a ghost. Tom, the shopkeeper, was still there, wiping down the counter with a scowl. "We're closing," he barked as Keanu stepped in. "I know," Keanu said, voice calm but firm. "That woman who was here, she needed food. I'll pay for it." Tom raised an eyebrow, sizing him up. "You some kind of saint?" Keanu didn't answer, just slid cash across the counter. Bread, milk, a few cans. Nothing extravagant, just survival. Tom shrugged, bagged it, and handed it over. Keanu didn't say his name, didn't need to. This wasn't about him. He carried the bags back to the park, the weight light compared to what he carried inside. Sarah was still there, sitting with Emily, her arms wrapped tight around her little girl like she could shield her from the world. Keanu slowed as he got close, not wanting to startle her. He set the bags down at her feet, simple and quiet. "These are for you and your daughter." Sarah's head jerked up, eyes wide with disbelief. "What? No, I can't just take this," she stammered, her voice thick with pride and confusion. Emily peeked out, her small hands clutching Sarah's sleeve, and her face lit up at the sight of food. That look, the pure, unguarded hope, cut through Sarah's defenses like a knife. Keanu crouched slightly, meeting Sarah's gaze. "Please," he said, softer now. "It's not much. Just take it." Sarah's lips parted, but no words came. She stared at the bags, then at him, searching his face for a catch. There wasn't one. "Why are you doing this?" she finally asked, her voice trembling, raw with a mix of gratitude and suspicion. Keanu straightened up, hands slipping back into his pockets. "It's Easter," he said simply. "No one should go hungry, not today." It wasn't the whole truth. There was more buried deep, a pain he wouldn't name, but it was enough for now. Before Sarah could argue, he gave a small nod and turned away, disappearing into the fading crowd. Sarah sat there, frozen, the bags at her feet like an anchor pulling her out of a storm. Emily tugged at her arm. "Mama, is this ours? Can we eat now?" Her voice was so small, so trusting, it broke Sarah's heart all over again. She pulled her daughter close, tears spilling over as she whispered, "Yeah, baby, it's ours." She didn't know how to feel, grateful, sure, but also lost. Who was this guy? Why her? She replayed his words, his quiet kindness, and felt something stir, a flicker of warmth she hadn't known in too long. She glanced down the street where he'd gone, but he was already out of sight, a shadow swallowed by the city. Keanu didn't stop walking until he was blocks away, the noise of the neighborhood fading behind him. He could still see Sarah's face, the way her eyes had softened despite her resistance. It stuck with him, gnawed at him. He wasn't some hero, just a guy who'd been on the other side of empty hands and broken promises. He thought of his sister, Jennifer, how she'd fought the same fight Sarah was fighting, how he hadn't been enough to save her. That old ache flared up, sharp and familiar, but helping Sarah dulled it, just a little. He didn't know her story, didn't need to. What he knew was the weight of hunger, the sting of shame, and he'd be damned if he let it crush someone else while he could do something about it. As he kept moving, one thought lingered. This wasn't the end. Not for Sarah, and not for him. Keanu Reeves couldn't shake Sarah from his mind. The way she'd looked at him, half thankful, half wary, stayed with him all night. So when he spotted her the next day walking Emily to school down a cracked sidewalk, he didn't hesitate. He crossed the street, hands still in his pockets, his quiet presence cutting through the morning bustle. "Hey," he said, voice low but warm. Sarah froze mid-step, startled, then softened when she recognized him. Emily waved shyly, clutching her mom's hand. "You're the food guy," she chirped, and Keanu cracked a small smile. "Yeah, that's me." He glanced at Sarah. "Can we talk for a minute?" She hesitated, instinct screaming to protect what little she had left. But his eyes, steady, kind, pulled her in. She nodded, kneeling to Emily. "Go on to school, sweetie, I'll catch up." Emily skipped off, glancing back with a grin. Alone now, Sarah faced him, arms crossed tight. "What do you want?" she asked, not harsh, just tired. Keanu shifted, choosing his words. "I've been where you are," he said quietly. "Not exactly, but close. People I loved, they struggled, went hungry, and I couldn't fix it. I don't want that for you." Sarah blinked, caught off guard. "You don't even know me," she said, voice cracking. "I don't have to," he replied. I saw enough yesterday. You're fighting for your kid. That's all I need to know." He paused, then added, "I can help, if you'll let me." Her guard wavered, torn between pride and the lifeline he dangled. Sarah swallowed hard, looking away. "I lost my job a while back," she admitted, the words spilling out like a confession. "Company said they had to cut costs. Didn't matter, I'd been there 3 years. Worked doubles just to keep us afloat. They pick profit over people. Happens all the time around here." Her voice trembled with anger, but beneath it was defeat. "I've been looking for work, but it's scraps. Nothing steady. I can't keep failing her." Keanu listened, his jaw tightening. He knew that story too well, the way the world chewed up the vulnerable and spit them out. He'd seen it break his sister, Jennifer, piece by piece. "You're not failing," he said firmly. "You're still standing. That's more than most." She met his gaze, eyes glistening. "Why do you care?" Keanu shrugged, almost sheepish. "Because I can, and because no one should fight alone." It wasn't a grand speech, but it hit her hard. Sarah wiped her face, nodding slowly. "Okay," she whispered. "What's your plan?" Keanu didn't waste time. He knew a guy at the local community center, someone who owed him a favor. By the end of the day, he'd lined up a part-time gig for Sarah, cleaning and organizing, flexible enough to fit around Emily. He even got Emily into a free after-school program. Art and games, something to keep her smiling. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a start. The first time Sarah clocked in, she felt a knot loosen in her chest. She could pay for groceries, not beg for them. Emily came home that week with a crayon drawing of a flower, babbling about her new friends. Sarah taped it to the fridge, staring at it until tears blurred her vision. She thought of Keanu, how he'd handed her more than food. He'd given her a shred of dignity, a chance to breathe. But it wasn't just relief flooding her now. It was something heavier, something alive, hope. She hadn't felt it in so long, it scared her. Keanu didn't pat himself on the back. He dropped by the center sometimes, checking in, but kept his distance. He saw Sarah's shoulders lift a little higher, heard Emily's laugh echo down the hall, and that was enough. Almost. Late at night, alone with his thoughts, he wondered why this mattered so much. It wasn't just about Sarah. It was Jennifer's ghost, whispering he could have done more back then. Helping Sarah felt like rewriting an ending he'd never gotten right. He didn't tell her that, didn't burden her with his baggage, but as he watched her fight her way back, he felt cracks in his own wall start to give. Maybe this was healing. For her, sure, but for him too. Sarah Johnson couldn't stop thinking about Keanu Reeves. He wasn't just the guy who'd bought her groceries or found her a job. He was a puzzle, one she couldn't quite crack. His kindness felt too big, too deliberate, like it carried a weight she didn't understand. So one evening, after her shift at the community center, she asked him to meet her at a small Chicago cafe, the kind with mismatched chairs and dim lights. Keanu showed up, hands in his pockets as always, his quiet presence filling the space. They sat with coffee steaming between them, and Sarah didn't waste time. "Why do you care so much about us?" she asked, her voice steady but searching. "You've done more than anyone ever has. There's got to be a reason." Keanu looked at her, his dark eyes unreadable for a moment. He stirred his coffee, the spoon clinking softly, then sighed. "There's a story," he said, low and careful, "but I'm not ready to tell it, not yet." His words weren't cold, but they drew a line, one Sarah couldn't cross. She leaned back, frustrated. "That's it? You changed my life, and I don't even get to know why?" Keanu's jaw tightened like he was wrestling with something inside. "It's not about hiding," he said. "It's about timing. You don't owe me anything, Sarah. Just keep going for Emily." He stood, leaving a crumpled bill for the coffee, and walked out before she could argue. Sarah stared at the empty chair, her gratitude tangled with a nagging doubt. Who was he, really? Days later, she got a clue by accident. Sarah was sorting supplies at the community center, her hands busy but her mind on Keanu, when she overheard two volunteers, Lisa and Mike, chatting near the door. "That guy Keanu's been around a lot," Lisa said, her voice hushed but curious. "He's not just some random donor, you know." Mike nodded, stacking chairs. Yeah, I heard he's got history here. Something about a family member, maybe his sister, who used to come to this place. Didn't get the help she needed and, well, she didn't make it. Sarah froze, her heart thudding. She edged closer, pretending to organize a shelf. For real? Lisa pressed. That's why he's always helping out? Mike shrugged. That's what they say. Guy's got a big heart, but he doesn't talk about it. Sarah's mind raced. A sister? Someone who'd struggled like her? It explained the way Keanu watched her and Emily, not just with pity, but with something deeper, like regret. She wanted to brush it off, to let gratitude outweigh her questions, but she couldn't. Why hadn't he told her? Was his kindness about her at all, or was she just a stand-in for someone he'd lost? The thought stung, twisting her relief into unease. She owed him everything: food on the table, a job, Emily's smile, but she hated feeling like a piece in someone else's puzzle. She needed the truth, not just for herself, but to trust him fully. That night, alone in her tiny apartment, Sarah wrestled with it. Emily was asleep, clutching the flower drawing from her after-school program, and the fridge hummed with food Keanu's money had bought. Sarah sat at the kitchen table, staring at her hands, rough from years of scraping by. She was grateful. God, was she grateful. But gratitude wasn't enough anymore. She thought of her own losses, the way life had kicked her down, and how Keanu's help had pulled her back from the edge. But knowing he might be carrying a ghost made her ache for him too. What kind of pain drove a man to give so much to a stranger? Sarah made up her mind. She'd ask him again, not to confront, but to understand. Keanu wasn't just her savior. He was human, flawed, like her, and that made him real. She didn't want to owe him. She wanted to know him. As she turned off the light, the thought settled heavy but clear. Whatever his story was, it had saved her life. Now she needed to save a piece of his, too, by listening when he was ready to speak. Keanu, miles away, lay awake staring at the ceiling, Jennifer's face flashing in his mind. He didn't know Sarah was closing the gap inch by inch toward the truth he wasn't sure he could share. Sarah Johnson couldn't let it go. Keanu's half-answers and quiet exits gnawed at her, so she waited for him outside the community center after her shift. The air was cool, the streetlights buzzing, but she barely noticed. When Keanu stepped out, his coat collar up, she blocked his path, arms crossed. "We need to talk," she said, her voice firm but trembling. "For real this time. I heard things. About your sister, about this place. I deserve the truth, Keanu." "Why me?" He stopped, hands slipping into his pockets, his face shadowed. For a long moment, he said nothing, just looked at her, searching, maybe deciding. Then he sighed, heavy and tired. "All right," he murmured, "let's sit." He nodded to a bench nearby and Sarah followed, her heart pounding. Keanu sat, staring at his hands like they held the weight of his words. "Her name was Jennifer," he started, voice low, almost breaking. "My little sister. She lived around here. A single mom like you, had a kid she'd do anything for, but she got sick. Something treatable if you've got money or insurance. She didn't." He paused, swallowing hard. "The system didn't care. No coverage, no help. Doctors turned her away, said pay up or figure it out. She fought, Sarah God, she fought, but it wasn't enough. She died in a rundown apartment, alone, while I was off chasing my own life. I didn't know how bad it was until it was too late." His eyes glistened, but he blinked it back, jaw tight. Sarah's breath caught, her chest aching as his words sank in. "When I saw you that day," he went on, "outside the store, trying so hard for Emily, was like seeing her again. That same quiet strength, that same fear. I couldn't save Jen, couldn't even hold her hand when she needed me. But you, I could do something for you." His voice cracked, raw and unguarded. "Helping you? It's like I'm making it right, even just a little. I know it's not your burden, but it's mine." He looked at her then, eyes pleading for her to understand, to not hate him for it. Sarah didn't hate him. She couldn't. Tears spilled down her face, hot and fast, as she saw the man behind the kindness. A man broken by guilt, stitched together with every good deed. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, voice shaking. "I didn't know." She reached out, impulsive, and wrapped her arms around him. Keanu stiffened at first, surprised, then let her hold him. His breath hitched, and for a moment, they just sat there. Two people carrying their own ghosts, finding solace in the shared silence. Sarah pulled back, wiping her face. "You didn't have to carry that alone," she said softly. "Not anymore." Keanu nodded, a faint, sad smile tugging at his lips. "It's not just about Jen," he admitted. "It's the whole damn mess, how people like her, like you, get left behind. No insurance, no safety net. I tried to help her once, scraped together what I could, but the bills were a mountain. The system's rigged, Sarah. It chews up the poor and calls it fair." His voice hardened, anger simmering beneath the pain. "I've got means now, more than I need. If I can keep one person from falling through the cracks, I will. That's why here." Sarah felt his words like a punch. She knew that rigged game, losing her job to corporate greed, stretching pennies until they snapped. But hearing it from him, tied to a loss so personal, lit something fierce in her. "I won't let you down," she said, her voice steady despite the tears. "Not you, not her. I'm gonna fight. For Emily, for me. You've given me that chance." Keanu looked at her, really looked, and for the first time she saw relief in his eyes, like her strength lifted some of his weight. They sat a while longer, the night closing in. Sarah felt heavier, but stronger too, like she wasn't just surviving anymore, but carrying Jennifer's fight forward. Keanu rubbed his hands together, exhaling slow. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for listening." Sarah squeezed his arm. "Thank you for telling me." It wasn't closure, not yet, but it was a start. For both of them, the past wasn't gone, but it was shared now, and that made it bearable. Sarah Johnson wasn't the same woman Keanu Reeves had met outside that grocery store. With his help, she'd clawed her way back from the edge, and now she was building something real. She signed up for night classes at the community center, basic computer skills, bookkeeping, anything to make her more than a paycheck-to-paycheck survivor. Her hands shook the first time she logged into a computer, but she kept going, fueled by a promise to herself and a silent nod to Jennifer's memory. Keanu didn't hover, didn't take credit, he just checked in, quiet as ever, making sure she had what she needed: bus fare, a used laptop, time to breathe. Meanwhile, he kept busy elsewhere, slipping cash to other struggling families, fixing leaks in the center's roof, always moving like a shadow with a purpose. They didn't plan to get close, but it happened anyway. Late shifts turned into shared coffee breaks, then long talks about life's rough edges. Sarah told him about losing her mom young, about raising Emily alone after her ex walked out. Keanu listened, nodding, offering bits of his own story, never too much, but enough to let her in. They weren't fixing each other, not exactly, they were just holding space. Two people who'd been bruised by the world and refused to break. It felt natural, like a friendship forged in fire, and Sarah stopped wondering when he'd leave. He wasn't going anywhere. Not yet. One evening, as Easter approached, Sarah decided to take a chance. She invited Keanu over for dinner. It wasn't anything fancy, just roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, and a peach pie she'd managed to make using canned fruit. Emily bustled around their small apartment, setting the table with mismatched plates and excitedly chatting about her day. When Keanu knocked on the door, Sarah quickly ran her fingers through her hair, suddenly feeling more nervous than she'd expected. He stepped inside, holding a small gift bag, and Emily's face lit up. "Uncle Keanu," she squealed, running over and wrapping her arms around his legs. Sarah froze for a second at the word uncle, a title Emily had started using recently, one she'd clearly chosen with affection. Keanu just laughed and gently ruffled her hair. "Hey, kiddo." They sat down to eat, the room filled with the warmth of laughter and the soft clatter of forks on plates. Emily carried most of the conversation, animatedly telling stories from her art class, while Keanu listened like each word was the most fascinating thing he'd ever heard. After dinner, he handed her the gift bag. "This is for you," he said softly. Emily tore it open and pulled out a slim hardcover book, a children's story about a girl who spreads kindness wherever she goes. "It's like you, Mama," Emily said, smiling brightly at Sarah, then turned to Keanu. "And like you too, Uncle Keanu." Sarah felt her throat tighten as she watched her daughter clutch the book like it was something precious. Keanu's expression softened, and for a moment, something quiet and sincere passed through his eyes. "Thank you, Emily," he murmured, and Sarah could tell he meant it in a way words couldn't quite capture. Later, with Emily sprawled on the couch reading her new book, Sarah and Keanu sat at the kitchen table, coffee cooling between them. The quiet felt heavy, full of unspoken things. "You're good at this," Sarah said, nodding toward Emily, "making people feel seen." Keanu shrugged, staring into his mug. "I try. Sometimes it's too much, though. Giving, helping, it wears you down." His voice was low, honest, a crack in the armor he rarely let slip. Sarah leaned forward, her hand resting near his. "You ever think about stopping?" He shook his head, faint smile tugging at his lips. "Can't. It's who I am. But, yeah, I get tired." Sarah studied him, seeing the lines etched around his eyes, the weight he carried for Jennifer, for her, for everyone he helped. "You're not alone in this, Keanu," she said, firm but gentle. "We're here too. Me, Emily, the people you've pulled up. You don't have to do it all by yourself." Her words hit him hard, unguarded. He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, she saw the exhaustion give way to something lighter. "I don't know what to say," he admitted, voice rough. "You don't have to," she replied, echoing his own line from that first day. "Just know it." They sat there, the hum of the fridge filling the silence, and Keanu felt a shift. Sarah wasn't just someone he'd saved. She was a mirror, reflecting back a strength he'd forgotten he needed. He'd spent years pouring himself out, chasing redemption, but her words stitched something back together. Maybe he didn't have to carry it all alone. Sarah felt it too, a gratitude that went both ways. She'd been lifted by his kindness, but now she was holding him up too. As Emily's soft snores drifted from the couch, they shared a look, not of pity or debt, but of balance, a quiet promise to keep going together. Keanu Reeves had given so much, but now something was pulling him away. A call came, a big one, an offer to join a global charity project overseas, building homes for displaced families. It was the kind of work he had always dreamed of, a chance to stretch his reach beyond Chicago's cracked streets. But as he sat in his sparse apartment, staring at the phone, doubt crept in. Sarah and Emily flashed through his mind, their laughter over that Easter dinner, the way Sarah's strength had started to steady him too. The community center hummed with people he'd lifted up, people who'd come to lean on him. Could he really leave them behind? He paced, hands in his pockets, Jennifer's memory whispering that he'd failed her once by not being there. He didn't want that guilt again. Sarah noticed the shift in him. He'd been quieter lately, his smiles thinner. One afternoon, as they sorted donations at the center, she cornered him. "What's going on, Keanu? You're not yourself." He hesitated, then spilled it. The offer, the opportunity, the fear of abandoning her. "I don't know if I can go," he said, voice rough. "You and Emily, this place, you're doing good now, but what if it falls apart without me?" Sarah set down a box, her eyes sharp but warm. "Keanu, listen to me. You've given me everything I needed to stand on my own. Emily, too. We're not fragile anymore. You've got to do this. For you. For Jennifer. We'll be okay because of what you've done." Her words hit him like a lifeline. He searched her face, saw the fire she'd rebuilt from ashes, and felt the knot in his chest loosen. "You sure?" he asked, almost a whisper. She nodded, fierce. "I'm sure. Go change the world out there. You've already changed mine here." Keanu swallowed hard, a faint smile breaking through. "You're stronger than you know, Sarah." She grinned back. "Learned it from you." The center threw him a farewell party a week later, nothing grand, just folding chairs, a potluck, and a crowd of grateful faces. Emily darted around, showing off her latest drawing, while Sarah stood by Keanu, watching it all. As the night wound down, she pulled him aside and handed him a small wrapped gift. "Open it," she said, voice thick. He peeled back the paper, revealing a framed photo of him, Sarah, and Emily from that Easter night, laughing over pie. Etched on the frame, "Thank you for being our light." Keanu's breath hitched, his eyes welling up. "Sarah," he started, but she cut him off. You gave us hope when I had none. Take this with you. And don't be a stranger, okay? He nodded, tears spilling over, and pulled her into a tight hug. I promise, he whispered. Emily ran up, joining in, and for a moment they were a family saying goodbye. Keanu left the next day, the photo tucked in his bag, his heart heavy but full. Overseas, he threw himself into the work, hammering nails, hauling supplies, pouring out the same quiet kindness he'd given Sarah. But Chicago stayed with him, a pull he couldn't shake. A year later, he came back, not empty-handed, but with a plan. He'd secured funding from donors he'd met abroad. He walked into the community center unannounced, finding Sarah in the office she now ran, her desk cluttered with schedules and hope. "Keanu?" she gasped, standing. He smiled, weary but bright. "I've got something for you, for all of us." He unveiled it, a free clinic right there in the neighborhood named Jennifer's Place. A space for the uninsured, the forgotten, people like his sister, like Sarah once was. "No one's getting turned away again," he said, voice steady. "Not on my watch." Sarah's eyes filled, her hand covering her mouth. "You did this?" He nodded. "Couldn't have without you." She took the job as manager on the spot, turning her pain into purpose, just like he had. The clinic opened months later, a beacon in the chaos, and Sarah ran it with a fire that made Keanu proud. They stood together at the ribbon cutting, Emily between them, and Keanu felt Jennifer's shadow lift, not gone, but lighter. Kindness hadn't just saved Sarah, it had healed him too, piece by piece. Sarah squeezed his hand, whispering, "We did this." He nodded, eyes on the crowd, getting care they'd never had before. Together, they'd fought the unfairness, poverty, neglect, and won something back. The message was clear. Goodness ripples, mends, and builds. It doesn't just change the ones who take it, it transforms the ones who give it too. What do you think? Can kindness really heal the giver as much as the receiver? I believe Keanu and Sarah's story shows it can. His quiet acts didn't just pull her from the brink, they stitched up his own wounds, proving we're all connected in this mess of a world. Some might argue it's naive, kindness doesn't fix everything, and systemic rot runs deep. Fair point. But isn't it a start? One person stepping up can spark a chain, like that clinic rising from Jennifer's ashes. It's not about saving the world, it's about saving what you can reach. I'd love to hear your take. Drop a comment below. Huge thanks for sticking with this journey. If it moved you, hit subscribe, share it, and let's keep these stories alive. Your voice matters. Let's talk about it.